learned so far about Y is that it's a consonant if it's the first letter, and your mouth is in a stretched grin, and the back of your tongue is doing a very quick yeah, yeah, just a very subtle movement. Yeah. Y is a consonant only if it's the first letter. Anytime else, it's a vowel. If it's the first letter of a word or a syllable, it's a consonant. Usually it's just the first letter of a word. Yesterday, yes, yellow, yolk. And it's very rare. Those are common words, but Y as a consonant is very rare. I think it's actually, I wanted to say less than 1% of the time, but it might be like less than 3% of the time. Y is a consonant. Isn't that interesting? Yet that's the sound that we learn when we're taught to read in school. We learn that Y says yeah. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, hardly ever. So Y is a vowel if it's anywhere else in the word. If it's in the middle, it's a Greek word, and the Y acts as an I. It's called medial Y. If it's at the end of a multi-syllable word, it usually says E. Sometimes I, usually E. If it's at the end of a short word, unisyllable or monosyllable, one syllable, it says I, always. If Y is at the end of a one-syllable word, it says I, always. My, buy, try, cry, shy, fly. AY says A, that comes at the end. OY says oi, it comes at the end. EY says E, it comes at the end. Let me write those down. E, oi, A. And those come at the end of words. All right, you ready to practice? Let me share my screen. All right, here we go. Let's start annotating. Let's do this first one together. Here we have a consonant Y that's going to make that very subtle y sound. This I is going to say I. It's short sound because of the two consonants that come after it. Y at the end of a longer word usually says E. Y at the end of a longer word usually says E. By longer, I mean multisyllable. You can tell a word is multisyllable if there are more than one vowel that don't touch. So the sounds are y, I, p, o, e. Yiply, yiply. All right, I want you, before I send you off on your own on this one, I want to talk to you a little bit about this TCH. TCH is a trigraph. So I don't want you to pronounce that T and then the CH because you recognize the CH. I want you to learn to recognize the TCH as a unit. It's a trigraph and it says exactly what that CH says. Ch. But that is how you spell the ch sound after a short vowel. So TCH and CH say the exact same thing, but TCH is the spelling that comes after a short vowel. So don't pronounce this T as a T. Pronounce this TCH as a CH. All right, go for it. I'm getting worse at maneuvering my mouse. Okay, so this I is going to say I because there are two consonants after it. This TCH is pronounced as ch. Y at the end of a longer word usually says E. So we have y, I, ch, E. Yitchy, yitchy. You might recognize the word itchy right there if we take the Y off. Itchy. You might recognize the word itch if we take the other Y off. So there's a consonant Y and a vowel Y and an itch in the middle. It helps if we break down the word, doesn't it? So that each grapheme says what you would expect. Do you remember what grapheme means? So a grapheme is a letter or set of letters that makes one sound. The sound is a phoneme. So a phoneme is a sound represented by a letter or set of letters, a grapheme. Graphemes produce phonemes. Phonemes are represented by graphemes. Why can't we just call them letters and sounds? Because if, like in yitchy, not every letter is making its own sound. That does not say y, it, k, h, e. It's represented by 4 graphemes. So even though that word has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters in it, it only has 4 sounds represented by 4 phonemes. That is why we do that phonemic awareness exercise at the beginning of every class, to teach our brain to see the word in phonemes. We see a word as a combination of sounds. It's a kind of like an algebraic equation, a formula that we can figure out that's comprised of sounds. And we're figuring out what those sounds are. So we don't read words, we don't read letters, we read sounds. Okay? So it's all about sounds, which is why we do so much sound work at the beginning of every class. All right, let's try number 2. So we know that Y at the end of 1 syllable words sounds like an I. This is an always rule. Y at the end of monosyllable, 1 syllable words sounds like a long I and says I. You can tell if a word is 1 syllable if there is only 1 vowel in it, or vowel sound. So we have b, ul, I, bly, bly. Now you have a digraph blend here. This is a grapheme. So this word has 4 letters, but 3 graphemes. So pronounce each one. Yeah, let me just put this Q&A in the middle here so I can see your questions. Do we count it as 1 sound? Yes. So the TCH is 1 sound. Very good. Light bulb, you got a light bulb? Nice. That's what I was hoping for. Another light bulb moment. All right, so here we have I, thry, thry. Since we're getting light bulbs and stuff in the comments, let me just go back and visit what we were just talking about. When we teach children to read, I wish that we would say that this is how I do it. This is an A. It's not an A. It is, and we can mention that it's an A, but they must learn that this is an A. This is a B. And this is a T. B, A, T. Then they can learn to pencil read and push those sounds together. Bat, bat. If we teach that letters are sounds, then reading will make a lot more sense to a lot of kids and adults, as you're now aware of. We read sounds, not letters. The letters just represent the sounds, and the letters aren't even letters. They're graphemes that represent phonemes. All right, let's keep going. All right, so here we have a Greek word. How do I know that it's a Greek word? Because we have a medial Y. Y in the middle is called medial Y, and medial Ys act as I's. So when you see a Y in the middle, it's a Greek word. Greeks didn't put I's in the middle of their words. They put Y's in the middle of their words to spell an I sound. It could be long or it could be short. It follows the same tap 2 pattern that an I would. So here I know that this Y or I sound is going to make the short sound because there are 2 consonants after it. AY says A. That's how you spell the A sound at the end of words. So we have P, I, M, S, L, A. Pimsley, Pimsley, Pimsley. Now your EY over here is usually pronounced E. Sometimes it could be pronounced A, but it's very rare. It's usually pronounced E, and then this Y in the middle, your medial Y, is going to say I. Let's go ahead and read your word without me. All right, so we have this medial Y saying I, EY says E. Our sounds are P, R, I, M, T, R, E. This is kind of a complicated word, so I'm going to do the successive blending technique where I grab just one sound at a time. Per, pri, prim, primt, primter, primtree. Now that word is going to be hard to pronounce because of these two R's. When you read it, focus on these two R's and you'll get it right. Force those R shapes, because sounds are shapes. I'll talk about that in a minute. Force those R shapes into your word in those exact spots. Primtree, primtree. All right, let's talk about sounds or shapes. All a sound is a combination of the shape of your mouth and the stopping and flowing of air. If you think about it. And the sound for the short A, how deep do I want to go into this? Oh, we're already 4 minutes into it. I won't go very deep. Vowels have no obstruction in their sound coming out. They shouldn't. Okay, so that's what a vowel is. It's a sound that is unobstructed. But a B is obstructed. That air is stopped by your lips and then released. Same with C. The sound is stopped by the back of your tongue and then released. D, the sound is stopped and released. Okay, consonants are sounds that are a combination of the shape of your mouth and a sound is stopped and released. Vowels, there's no stopping, it's just the releasing of air. So when I say to concentrate on the shape of the sound, that's what I mean. If you can force your mouth into the correct shape for that sound, then the sound will come out correctly. All right, let's keep going. Wait a minute, I didn't share my screen. Number 4. So here we have that OY that says oi, TH that says th. So this has 2 graphemes, 4 letters, but 2 graphemes. We don't really talk about letters much. We talk about graphemes. Th and oi, thoi. You have 3 graphemes over here. So what would your words say? Yeah, sloy, sloy. All right, now look down here on the extra practice. I'm hopeful that you have this printed out in front of you because, my friends, if you don't, you're missing out on the ease that could be yours if you read with a pen. It crosses things in your brain. It makes it multisensory. It affects the easiness of reading if you will put a pen in your hand or a pencil and actually dot each grapheme, blend those sounds, connect those dots, then it begins to connect in your brain. So hopefully you have the PDF printed out. If not, look up here and tell me what word for the last couple minutes here do you want me to try it with you? What number? Put it in the Q&A. You too. Have a great night. Number 9. Okay. So number 9, we have a consonant Y, a vowel team Y. I'm going to let you read this word on your own and then I'll come back and read it with you. This L is going to be a doozy. Force the shape of it in that spot. Same with this one. 2 L's. R's and L's you have to really, really control. That's the hardest one on the page. Okay, so we have Y, consonant Y. I, S, O, I, F, O, Oi. Now, I'm just telling you that this is a hard word to read because of those 2 L's. But you have to force the shape of the sound in those 2 exact spots. And if you go slow and connect the dots slowly, you can do it. So we have Ye, Slifloy. Yislifloy. 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 Hard one. Oh, right, my friends. How about we end on an easy one? I'm going to put one here in the chat for you. In the chat for you to read. What's that word? Yes, it's chai. So if you didn't know anything else, you know that Y at the end of a 1-syllable word says I. Y at the end of a 1-syllable word says I. Chai. You've never seen that word before, but you knew how to read it because you knew the rules. Hopefully you're feeling good about the knowledge that you are accumulating. I'm excited to teach you about R control vowels and about W control vowels so that all of that, what might seem like vowel nonsense, will become clear and you'll be able to make the sense out of those, what could seem like difficult words, but we're going to break them down so that they are simple. All right, my friends, have a great night. We'll see you Wednesday. Bye, everybody.